Welcome to Amazon FBA Nomads podcast. I am with the amazing Seth Baker and Thomas Parkinson.
I'm glad I'm not amazing. Just Seth, not me. Thanks.
No, you're both amazing. I don't want to say it twice. Come on.
Well, you could say the tanned. We mentioned that I was quite tanned before.
Yeah, why do you want to tan? No, tan
just
in
any
person.
adjective.
I don't know what's your opinion, mate.
But you didn't give me any adjectives, Gavin. I feel left out. I feel like you're bullying me. Come on, boys. We're supposed to be together.
We'll give Gavin
guys,
adjectives.
So we're talking about business Amex USA, small and light, burn rate, and spending cash on our personal lives and what it costs to live our lifestyle right now. Right. Business Amex USA. So I just got offered Amex Platinum with a offer of 150k points if I spend like 10 grand in 3 months, which is obviously going to happen. So what do you guys think about that? How easy is it for UK sellers to get business Amex cards? So I thought it was quite difficult. Right?
Oh, I thought it was really hard. Yeah.
How got offered? You do it? Do you see you got offered? They was like, would you like it?
Yeah. They said you have been pre-approved for our special promotion, 150k points. Then the next day, they sent me the same email for 100k points.
But was this your UK account?
No, it's our USA account. It's our LLC.
But do you have a USA business Amex already, or just the personal one?
Just a personal.
So how do they know you have a business?
That's what I was thinking. Well, they obviously know that we don't live in America, right? It's like...
No.
When I was on the call with this guy... He was like, okay, but you have to be at the warehouse. You have to be at the location, right, to pick the card up. Will you be there? Yeah, no problem. I can get the card. Okay, I'm just confirming that you will be at the location that you're specifying to collect the card. Yeah, no problem. Okay, I'll put that through for you.
You make it sound like they want you to stand there waiting for the mailman to arrive.
No, I just think they just don't believe I'm in the USA. And I don't.
Well, they're obviously like, we can't say you don't, but we're going to ask you, like, are you sure you're going to be there?
But what's also interesting, they obviously know as well that we're using our Amex Gold card, personal, for business transactions, right? I think that's on the basis.
I just go shopping at Walmart a lot.
Yeah,
50
I just
times a day.
spend 80 grand on shoes every month. I like to wear a lot of them.
I'm sure there are people who spend way more than that on shoes personally.
Yeah, but okay, I buy 1,000 pairs plus every month. And I like to wear 20 pairs in a day and bin them.
Octopus Gavin.
But yeah, so they obviously know what we're doing. They knew that, because they're not going to pre-approve you for business platinum. But yeah, as you said, they just don't seem to care. And actually, yeah, they don't care so much that
it's too big a company.
A really good card for it. But my challenge is now, I want this card in my hand. I don't have a Amex Platinum. I don't have one.
You don't have any?
For the UK. No. So I really want the card.
By the way, the US one is not as good as the UK one. 2 reasons. One, the conversion rate to Marriott isn't as good. But number 2 is the fact that you have to actually spend a certain amount before you can get the guest for the airport lounge, whereas the UK, you get it from day one.
What do you mean, spend on the card?
I think in the Amex Platinum, you have to spend like $80,000 or something, or I don't know, in a year before you're allowed to have a guest in the lounge with you. But on the UK, it's just straight away you get it from day one. There's a spend requirement on the US.
That's like a month then. Well, fortunately, I'm a bit of a posh fucker now. I only fly first class, so I want the first class lounge. But the 150k points was so good. Like, it's infinite. Because I'm collecting...
That's like one return flight from Mexico City to UK first class.
Yeah. So if the MS card itself costs $650, then like you're getting like 3 years, 2 to 3 years of subscription costs from that bonus, which is crazy good.
Okay, fine. So sorry, tell a lie.
So you've already got it then?
It arrived, yes. I've got it at my place, ready to pick up on a location where I'm not at. So I need to get my centre to pass that to me.
That's easy. You must have it. Like, why do you send it to your prep centre? Why don't you send it to your mailing address? They'll just forward it on to you.
Habit. It's quicker. I can start using it quicker.
Also, though, you should look at getting a virtual, like, there's like virtual mailbox in the US, so your prep center can send it to the virtual mailbox and ship it on to wherever. Like, I have a few of them in the US, so I have different addresses I can ship stuff to, and then once they scan it all in, and then I can say, I'll send it to UK, I'll send it to me in Mexico. They're like, fine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, doesn't your registered agent do that anyway, Gav? Like whoever you signed
Well,
up
your
to,
registered agent has to send it to a set place.
And usually they do. So they're not have a virtual address usually, like service that you pay like $20.
Agreed,
a month
but once
for.
it gets there, then I think they have to send it to your registered address, which is like the UK address probably.
Oh,
so if you're in Mexico, it's a lot harder. So if you send it to if it's because they're a registered agent, they can only send it to one forwarding address because it's official documentation. I think
that makes sense. Yeah. I need to look into that because I can't just get it forwarded to me in Mexico. So I do want that card. It is a pretty sexy card. Metal. If someone attacks
But overall, we have no idea.
I could be walking the streets of Mexico. Some guy attacks me, starts throwing fists at me. I take out my card, throw it.
No, I tell you what it's really good for. I actually use my platinum card to undo or to screw up the bolts in my girlfriend's number plate because the police took it off. We parked illegally, so they took the number plate out and then they gave us the number plate. And I was like, "How the hell do I put this back on again? It's not gonna. I can't do it hand tight." So I got my platinum card, and that worked really well as a screwdriver.
There you go. See, multi-use.
Multi-use, exactly.
Yeah, I stopped using my platinum card because it was the same points to get gold, so I thought I'd save such £600. I just didn't need the platinum card. So I've, on a drunken night out with one of my mates, I threw it on the floor because I said, well, it's expiring in a month, I don't need it. And then a few months later, I noticed the platinum card in my friend's wallet. He was like, yeah, I just use it as a flex when I'm on dates.
Really?
So that cracked me up. I even bent it because I showed him, look, I don't need this because I don't care about it. Threw it in the gutter, and then he picked it up, tried to straighten it out, and he uses it as a flex, which is quite neat.
That's hilarious.
Interesting human, that guy.
So if you want to know, we'll just come back. We're talking about. I'm just reading on Amex USA. They say for Amex USA Platinum and USA Business Platinum card members, you will be charged per visit for the lounge, the Centurion lounges, $50 per guest and $30 per child. But you will earn a complimentary guest access for 2 guests by spending $75,000 or more in eligible purchases. So once, I think, don't quote me, I think in the US one that you have to pay for your guests unless you've spent over $75,000 in the lounge. Whereas in the UK one, you don't. You get it free straight from day one.
Yeah. You get one guest free in the UK, and then if you want an additional guest, it's £20 or €20 or something. That's what I remember. That's what happened last year when I had
to take an additional
guest in.
Does Platinum give phone insurance?
It's good for travel insurance. Like, I pay for all my travel, even with the points, the tax bit with that. Because if you get they have really good travel insurance. It's like, the transaction went through that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, always.
Monzo Premium, you get travel insurance as well, but that's just personal, not business.
No, I pay for everything with the Amex. I don't know about phone insurance, Gavin. Check it out.
What? Amex gives you travel insurance? What? You mean platinum, not gold?
Yeah. If you pay for it with the card, you have to use the card.
Ah.
And they also give you car insurance for traveling when you travel with cards. So, if you hire a car and you pay with the card, it gives you a second level of protection.
That's good.
There's a lot of benefits for it.
All right, moving on. Next topic: small and the light. So the reason why I want to talk about this.
The other one, if I just come back, the other one you probably want to do, Gavin, is that I believe you get the prepaid TSA pre-approved for the USA. So basically, they'll pay for the yearly charge of TSA pre-approval, which allows you to skip the security lines. I haven't done it. I think you can get it, and or it's the clear one. I'm not sure. Basically, just speeds up your airport. So if you're on your own, it's great. But I travel with my girlfriend, so I have to wait for her anyway. So I don't bother doing it.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Carry on.
Right. Moving on, small and light. The reason why I want to talk about this is that I've been doing it very heavily in my business recently. And I'm seeing some pretty insane margins across the board. Yes, you're making way less profit overall, but the volume can be very good. And if you've got the volume with high margins, it's actually a lot more profitable than selling a $100 item for 30% ROI. Now, what's your thoughts on this, guys? Have you looked into S&L?
I haven't.
I haven't because we don't know. I haven't because the reason was that I purposely went the other way. I purposely went higher value.
Mm-hmm.
we like in the USA, for example, we purposely try and make a point of trying to increase our average sale price rather than decrease it. I think you're right. There was a good argument, and we've only really just moved to categories, but I think there is a good argument to look at small and light. But and if I'm going to say to anyone, I think if you are going to do it, you dedicate, you do it 100%. You don't kind of like do a little bit of small and light, a little bit of everything else. Like the profit is in the detail, I think, is the answer. What do you think?
Yeah, you're all in. And I think the challenge...
Yeah, because if the ROI is amazing, it's worth doing, right, Tom? Even though you can only sell, for $11.99 is the max price you can sell at. But if the ROI is insane, you're buying everything for $1 and it sells really fast, then it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it?
Well, if you're buying it for $1, sell it, and making like $2 profit, you're making, let's say, for 100% ROI, fantastic. Of course, we're really, really happy. But like the one thing which I'll say is so many people might listen to this and be like, hey, I'm going to go try small and light. I'm like I've been down that shiny object syndrome before. And I'm like, if you are going to do it, you do it all or you don't do it at all. Like I have so many people going, should I do dangerous goods? And I'm like, if you can do dangerous goods, cool. But you do dangerous goods, like you dedicate 20 hours a week and you're sourcing nothing but dangerous goods and you really understand it. Not like, I'll spend 1 hour now looking for small and light and then see what happens.
Yeah, get really good at one thing, which is always the case. Books. So one question
by the way, even on books, you
exactly.
do one very small subset of sourcing for books. And obviously I know what that is, but like it's different to what other people do. And the net result is that you do very well out of that. You don't buy the big containers of books and scan them all, do you? Like everyone else, you do just one very small thing massively. And if you're going to do small and light, you do one thing small and light, and then you do lots of that one thing.
Yeah, true. One question I've got for you, Gav, because you've actually been doing some SNL, is like, have you noticed that are there less FBA? Is there less competition? Is there a lower barrier to entry? Is there less price cutting?
So we're going for very, very fast volume, like extremely fast volume, and there's definitely like a little bit less competition, but the price is also a lot more volatile, right? Like a 20 cents reduction in price could be like 5 or 10% off your margin. So that's definitely something we noticed, which is interesting. But the competition isn't that big. And I think one of the reasons why is that prep center bills in USA are very expensive. Like ideally you want to negotiate some sort of pricing for small and light with them. Like it doesn't take long to prep, right? It'll take, like you could do 500 units in like an hour, probably. Well, I have no idea. But you could do 500 units of small and light super quick. It's just the same repetitive thing again. And especially if you're going very deep, and that gives you a lot of leverage. So if you think about the time it takes to inspect a shoe versus inspecting a beauty item, right? Like a makeup, eyebrow, pencil, whatever. It's like you just look at it and just chuck it in and it's done. So that's like 10 seconds versus like 2 minutes, right? What was I going to say? So the ROI is absolutely massive. But I think people shy away from it because, the average selling price isn't that high. And it's kind of like, on a scale, like you have the small and light, which not many people do. Then you have the middle stuff, like all the beauty items, and maybe like an average sell price range of like $20 to $50 that most people do. And then you have the more higher ticket items that not many people do. So I think it's in like that range where not many people do it because the profit is so small per unit. It's kind of like...
It's got to be volume, isn't it?
Yeah, which then takes a lot of money, right? You have to be comfortable buying thousands of units.
Maybe, but regardless, the ROI...
Yes, you've got to know your numbers really well.
Yeah.
And also, have you had any situations on listings where, say, some massive like FMCG company has come in with thousands of units and just tank the price?
I did just have a listing that just got tanked today with 1,000 units. It got tanked from 100% ROI to -10, which is quite interesting. But it's only, I have like $2,000 worth of stock of that, but they only have like 200 units. So I'll just wait a few weeks.
It'll sell fast.
Oh, so you're just going to wait?
It's like, I don't know, because we're buying so many units, but then the actual net cost of all these items is more expensive. But I will say the risk is, right, the risk of the small and light is if the listing gets killed and then you want to return it somewhere. Because if you're going to return it, that will then have the return inspection fee of like $1 or $2. So then you just lost money. And I've been thinking, what am I going to do?
Oh, so it's not cheaper because it's SNL, the return fee.
No, I mean,
the same as a normal standard use.
So it's like, is the solution just to dispose of it or liquidate it through Amazon? is what I'm thinking there, and just so if there's like 1K units, it's like $2,000 of stock. Like if the listing got killed, I would probably just see if I can get someone to take it and take half.
Your listing would have to be majorly killed. Like even if you were making a minus 20% ROI, that would probably be cheaper than actually shipping out of Amazon, paying the shipping fees and all that per unit.
Oh no, I mean actually killing the listing. Like if Amazon killed the listing.
As in, like, you're blocked, you can't sell it anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, as in the listing is no longer available, right? Because there's certain ingredients that beauty products might contain that's not very clear. Or Amazon might assume they contain these ingredients, so they kill the listing. So the Amazon algorithm, right? So those are all possibilities, but that's all part of the game.
So if you just talk about small and light, so Seth talked about it, $12 top end sell price. What kind of sales velocity do you look for? Like what's the lowest sales per month you would go for, and like what's the lowest ROI you would go for?
So minimum ROI is 40%, but I'm not buying lots of that. I'm not proactive in replenishing that. What I mean by that is that if capital is getting a little bit strict, I'm looking at the good sales velocity with the high ROI items. Now, how many sales per a month? Like I wouldn't. If the offer count is just 1 or 2, like 30 sales per month is fine. And the reason why I'm happy to go lower is that we're aiming for at least $100 spend per ASIN minimum, and that in most scenarios would meet that. And then that would factor in to what I call a test buy, right? And what this does, I get to sell it and then see the actual data. Because in reality, I have listings that say they sell 30 sales per month, and I'm selling over 100. So unless it looks extremely bad, I can't test anything on it, and I don't bother. But over 30 sales per month, I'll give it a go because it allows me to spend over $100. I get to see some data, and then what you find is that you have a very good product base of listings that say, like SaaS, they don't sell very well, but you're selling over 100 a month or 200 a month.
Yeah, I've done that. We've done a lot of analysis. We're like, wow, this product's selling 200 and SaaS is saying 50. We're like, whoa.
And that's where SalesSnap has helped us a lot recently. Looking at the velocity of the listings, and the velocity it tells you how many it sells per day, only when it's in stock. Now, what I've been more interested in though, how many does it sell per day, only when we're competitive with the buy box and we're repricing? That'll be a lot more interesting.
But if you think, we've had this conversation off air, and you would buy your test buy 10 units, for example, then you go back and buy another 50 units, and then all you're trying to do is just keep continually building up that data. And then once you've got a decent amount of units, call it 50, 100 units in sale, and you've sold that many units over the period of time, you can then basically go, okay, what was the percentage buy box that I owned over that period, and what was the units of sales? And now I get a much better, accurate picture of the listing, and I can understand, do I want to be more competitive or not? So, but again, it's just data, isn't it?
Exactly.
But I think one of the biggest problems with all these tools, and like Seller Snap, is the fact that they don't explain how they get the numbers. So that they don't say, you sold 200 units over this period of time and you held the buy box for this percentage of time. So we multiply these two numbers and give you this number. And then you'd be like, okay, I understand. I don't like that part of the calculation, so I'll reduce it down a bit. They just go, buy this much.
Yeah, because I've checked it. If you're not competitive and you have the list or you're not repricing, but your listing's activity, it skews the velocity. So what we actually do, we look at SalesSnap for the replay, and then we just double check it on the orders page on Amazon. So we go to the orders page, look at the ASIN, and then just have a scroll down, see how it's actually selling.
Yeah, fine.
It's been absolutely awesome. But for small and light, the risk is if the listing gets killed or you're left with a lot of dead stock, you're mostly in a scenario where you're going to dispose of it. But if you get the good sales velocity, you can always minimize that risk. And the ROI can be insane. There's been a product now we've been selling for 2 months, 150% ROI. So profitable. And we sell like 200 or about 200 a month at about $18 profit per unit. Crazy. Wait, no, that's not small.
Wow.
You can't get $18 on small and
light.
That's not possible.
I was thinking like a very specific duo pack, but that's not small light. What we're talking about.
I make more money in profit than we're selling it for.
Yeah. Impossible. I'm just hacking into Amazon.
Fake guru.
Oh, shit.
Where's the Lambo?
It's on its way.
Talking about...
But I think an example example I've noticed of SaaS, when you can tell SaaS is underrepresented in the sales, is when you can see a listing that says, say, 60 sales a month, but the average price over the last year has been very consistent, but the offers are going up and down. Sometimes they're really high and the price is still consistent. That's definitely an example of where it's selling way more than SaaS says it is, because even though the offers are going up, the price is staying consistent.
Yeah, just be mindful also as well, like
tip.
if it FBA or FBM, because FBM can there just be multiple.
It's
so,
as heck. Or if it goes down.
You've got to factor that in. Yeah,
but I pay attention to it sometimes, but I tend to think that like for test buys, I'm spending over a certain amount and under a certain amount. So as long as the SaaS criteria meets that, then I'm pretty much happy with it. And then I use my real data, so I'm not looking at the offer counts that much. Unless it's some sort of seasonal item, I'm going super deep straight away. Like there was one item from a wholesaler that I bought $6,000 worth, 400 and something units that you're not going to be able to get. So you got to do like very good analysis there and then. There's no such things as test buys. So it's like if it's stock that they can get often, that's where that kind of stuff comes into real useful, because the risk appetite per that is a lot higher. But if it's what I consider to be like a standard replenishable, like I know I'm going to be able to buy it in the future, and I know this supplier typically has this in stock most of the time, that's fine.
Should we move on?
I've got a question for you. One question just on a random wholesale order. I spent like 4 hours yesterday doing a wholesale order and then ended up all the stock was out of stock. So it was a massive waste of my time. And I'd taken a modafinil pill as well. So I was extra gutted because I was like super focused in on it. Yeah, have either of you done it? It's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Like, the focus is unreal.
Let's hold this. Give us an explanation of modafinil.
If anyone's watched the film Limitless, then I think it's kind of based on that, where, what's his name? Something Cooper.
Bradley Cooper.
Very famous actor, was in Bradley Cooper, yeah, he was in The Hangover. He takes these pills and he's just like on 200% form all the time, and he becomes this super successful. Can't remember the film, it's actually very good, but a good soundtrack. So my girlfriend like used to take these at uni for studying because she said they were really good. So she gave me a couple, and I decided to pop one yesterday. And I tell you what, I didn't think anything was happening for 45 minutes. And then suddenly I was like zoned into the laptop. And this was at like 9 a.m. And I didn't like get up from the laptop or check Instagram or anything until 3 p.m. And I realised, maybe I should eat something. So this, obviously I'm not recommending it because it is technically a controlled substance or whatever. It's not legal in the UK. But if you want to work really hard on a boring task and waste 4 hours of your life, then take it. But circling back to what I was doing, there was one product left in stock that I was very tempted by because it sells like 2,000 products a month, and that's what SAS was saying. So it's probably selling a lot more than that. And this geezer had it on offer, not on offer. The price was like $38, and I could have sold it for $59. So the ROI was terrible. It was like 8 or 9%. But I know that if I bought 500 units off him, they would have just gone off the shelves in a few days. So I was asking you guys, like, would you go for that if it's pretty much guaranteed that you're going to get that? No, I didn't either. But I just thought it was very enticing because I tried to get him to negotiate the price down, and he negotiated it down by a whole 1%. So I was like, nah, I'm all right, thanks, mate. But I was intrigued either way because I thought maybe next time he gets more stock in, I could slowly get that 1% down to 5%. But I think he was trying to shaft me anyway. So
yeah, that's just an absolute no. Like if you start doing things like this, you'll have such unhealthy stock. The stock price on Amazon is volatile, right?
Yeah, I'm just saying that the whole year it was very, very stable. So I was like, it's a banker, but it's kind of like putting all your money on at Man City at the weekend. Well, that's not even a sure bet, but like a football team that you think are really going to win the game, and then or like a horse that's really like very big favourite.
That's
right?
bigger though. I'd be more tempted if it was a volatile listing where there was a period of time where I knew I could sell it for like a good amount of profit. Then I'd be tempted, but it's still probably just a no.
Yeah.
If I know I can get like 40%, but the worst case scenario is 8%, I'd be happy with that. If I can aim for the 40%. But
it's risk reward. So it's like, what's the worst case scenario? Well, I'll get 8%, fine. but I might get 120%. Okay, cool. Like the upside's got to be worth the downside. But if the upside is 8% and the downside is 8%, then you're like, the only equation you might look at that is like, really, that's like putting your money in premium bonds, or like, like you put it in a very super stable safe, and you only really do that when you've got so much cash you have no idea what to do with.
Yeah, there's much better ways to allocate your inventory.
Yeah, asset management.
Well, I made a good decision anyway. The guy was clearly a dickhead, so
we don't have that kind of language on this show, Seth. He was.
So you're not.
No.
He was a bad business person.
He was a meanie.
Yeah. Give me £20.
Wouldn't sell me mum and dad for no work. Should we move on?
Yeah, let's move on. Right.
What's next? Are we talking about spending?
Burn rate.
Go on, Seth.
Yeah, so a little context is that I was listening to a podcast called My First Million, which is very good, by the way. And they have lots of very successful entrepreneurs on, and they always like to ask them, how much money do you spend each month to live your lifestyle? And they had one guy on called Neil Patel, who's a very successful SEO blogger guy. And he said that he's got a family of however many kids and a wife. And he said that he spends $200K a month, $200,000 a month on just living, because he's got a full-time chef, full-time carer for the kids and all of this jazz. And then the co-host said like they spend 20 to 30K. But one of them said that when they were younger, just started their business, they spent 5 and they thought that was more than enough to live their dream lifestyle. But then when they started making more money, they thought that 20 and 30 is not quite enough, right? So it's the whole thing of, if you make more money, you end up spending it, right? But it got me thinking about you two and about the way I live my life. And I thought it was funny that their rich life was getting first class flights and nice hotels. And with online arbitrage, you can get those for free with Amex points. But the long-winded question was like, how much do you guys spend each month? Because I know you're in Mexico, Gavin's traveling around. How much does it cost to live a good lifestyle there? And also, do you want to, obviously you want to elevate your lifestyle. What extra things do you want in the future when you attain that next level of wealth?
Gavin?
So I'm moving to a new apartment right now in the center of Condesa. Super nice. About 1.5K USD per month. But if you wanted to, you could still get a decent apartment for like $800 a month, $900.
And I saw it on Instagram, Gav. You've got a very nice pad with 2 bedrooms, so you can easily live with someone, right? If you wanted to.
Yeah.
It looks very nice.
And it's massive. It's so big. It's so big. And then living expenses, it depends on how much you drink and how much you go out a lot. So me leaving the country, I've started to quite enjoy the finer things like nice restaurants, like going to Sonoma Prime with Tom, nice fish restaurants, this kind of stuff. So definitely my expenses have started to go up compared to what it used to be. So I think I probably spend around $2,500 per month. Or maybe
which isn't that much, right?
No,
that's not that much.
Nothing.
And that's to live that is to live an exceptionally good quality of life. There's nothing that I can do.
Just be clear, is this $2,500 including the Airbnb or excluding the Airbnb?
Yeah, including Airbnb.
So you only spend $1,000, which is nothing. £800 a month on spending. And you're talking about, I like to go for nice steaks. And by the way, a Sonora Prime is £100 a person.
Yeah, exactly. We go out quite a lot. We go spinning, exercise. But then in terms of what would I like to upgrade? I would say more finer things. I wouldn't mind having an in-house cook, an in-house maid, a penthouse.
But how much would that cost in Mexico? It probably wouldn't cost that much if you really wanted that.
Nothing. Right? I have a cleaner who comes. She's here right now. She what is it in dollars? I think we pay her 450 pesos to dollars. It's like $25.
That's about 18 quid.
Yeah, 18 quid for a day at 5 hours, and she's really happy with that. And it's fine. So she does 5 hours of cleaning. She does all the washing, does everything. That's once a week. My girlfriend's we don't need her once a week. Even she says, I don't need to be here once a week. There's not enough to clean. I'm like, you're going to be here once a week. I would have you twice a week, to be honest, because it's just worth it. 25 quid a week is nothing.
Exactly.
And then also,
it's not that high.
And an example also is if you wanted to get your laundry done, all folded for you, even put away for you, right? That in Mexico, that's only going to cost you a few pounds,
she does
several dollars, right?
She does
that. She makes your beds. She does all that stuff.
Everything.
And like I'm the same as you and Gav. Like, I think the only way that I'd want to upgrade if I was in Mexico would be like full-time chef just to cook for me, and cleaner, and all my laundry done, because that's all the things that I don't like doing that much. They're unnecessary, and that you can outsource. Like, you can't outsource someone doing your exercise for you, but you can outsource all that other stuff.
Move my arms.
But yeah, yeah, exactly. But Tom, do you want to explain what you spend and what
Yeah, like
I'm shooting for in future?
It was really interesting when I first started the entrepreneur journey. I used to pay myself £1,000 a month. That was like my living cost. And, like, I think why? Because it was about $1,000. It was about £750. Why? Because in the UK, that's like the lower earnings limit. It's a really common amount. And then what I would do is I'd just take extra money as I needed it. And I won't lie, I struggled, and I struggled emotionally as well with it. I found it a really bad place to be. And I struggled with, like, I don't want to take money from my business because I want to reinvest it, but also as well, like, I wasn't living a nice enough life. I had a conversation with my coach, and I basically just said, right, 1,500 done. And that was like Vietnam. So cool. And then we went to 2,000. And then basically now I do £3,000. Or I did £3,000. So 4,000 US dollars. And I won't lie, like, it's kind of weird. So the company pays my bank account money. And then from that bank account goes into my spending card. And from that spending card is the $3,000 or £3,000. But what I realized is that most months I would have money left over at the end of every month. So I now reduced that down to £2,400, $3,000 roughly. And I pay my rent. My rent's like $1,000 a month. It's not much because we're quite stable. If I ever do any travel, the company pays for that because it's generally company travel. But the one thing I would probably say is, same with like Gavin, the reason why we don't, I have a cleaner, but the reason why we don't really spend very much is because of two things. Number one, I have been out boozing for like years of my life, and I don't really drink very much anymore right now. So that's a massive cost done. Number two is the impact of boozing, has an impact. And Gavin also right now can't really drink. So he's like got like months where he's not drinking at all. So that's a massive cost. And then number three is like, we're actually spending our money on like eating well. Like, Gavin and I went spinning on Tuesday this week. We went spinning last night. And by the way, that's expensive. That's like $15 for 1 hour spinning class in Mexico, which is expensive. But like, I'm okay with that. I'd much rather pay that, and that's fine. And then the other one is my girlfriend's here, and she likes to cook food. She likes to have stuff ready. No, I'm not going to complain. She cooks food. I'm like, okay, cool, I'll eat it. Like, we're quite functional. But I do think there's another interesting thing, which I will say, and obviously having met a lot of Americans, is the fact that in the UK, we are used to having a lot less money, disposable cash. Like salary-wise is a lot lower than what you get in comparable to the US. In the UK,
hard to just scammed.
Yeah, if you like, you're in the UK, if you earn $30,000 a year, which isn't, so 30,000 USD to Great British pounds, it's going to be about £24,000. It's not huge, but by the way, if you earn 24,000 net, that's probably like 30,000 gross, should we say? So 24,000 tax after taxes. So it's not huge, but it's not bad, and that would probably be like 30,000 is about average, I think, in the UK. But £30,000 gross, and I'll convert it quickly, is how much in US dollars? It's going to be about 37,000 US dollars. Now, if you were to tell people you weren't in the US, 30,000 US dollars, 40,000 US dollars, before tax, they'd be like, how are you surviving? It's a very different mindset, and you have a lot more disposable cash, I think, in the US. Like, the people I know who are Americans, they would spend $5,000 quite normally. That would be like how much cash they would spend quite normally. For us to have $5,000 as English people, we're like, wow, that's so much money. And what I realize, and I think about this, like, I've never had this girlfriend, I've had this conversation with my girlfriend because she wants to buy a new car. I'm like, don't buy the car, go buy a house, buy an apartment, rental properties, like, invest the money while you can now. And she's like, but I've got a new job, like, I've got all this money. I'm like, you need to fucking save this. Like, not in a negative way. Like, I'm not saying like you should spend it. That's bad of me. Tell a lie. I'm like, don't do lifestyle creep. Don't go and increase your lifestyle. And by the way, like, while we fly first class, while we do like nice 5-star hotels, and I did 3 months last year in hotels, that was all free effectively. I wasn't really paying for it. But I do realize that, like, what I want personally is that I want to keep my cost of living quite low right now. I want to invest in good assets.
I think lifestyle creep can be very good. I'm not gonna lie.
It can be,
Like-
but I would just be careful. Like,
Yeah, be careful. But if you start experiencing things that is like you can't really normally afford, but you're aware of that, then you get so much more motivated. It's like the first time I flew first class, it's like, holy crap, what the heck is this? Sir Sweeney, would you like some champagne, sir? Hell yes. Got smashed on the plane.
which one of the champagnes would you like, sir, on the flight? We have 6 to choose.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, what red wine would you like to go with your meat? Oh, I don't know. Oh, how about the blue? But what I'm getting at is, if you experience things that's like outside your range, then you're putting your vibration, your energy on a higher level, and you're getting yourself used to these other things, which then motivates you, and it helps to remove limiting beliefs as well, because you've already done that now, you've experienced it. So if you continue to work, you're still motivated, it helps you get to the next level.
I agree, but I will come back to the richest man in Babylon, which is, very fundamental. If you spend more than you make, you're going to go broke. And the net result is that the one thing we see so much in social media is people living the lifestyle without being able to afford it, and they do it on credit.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, definitely you should go and experience a first class flight. I never say no to that. But you should be very mindful that now should not become your standard of flying as a generic if you cannot afford that. And what do I mean by afford it? I mean, like, the cost of the first class flight is like 0.01% of your company net profits for the year if you're paying for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it shouldn't be like I'm paying 10% of my net profits for a flight. Like, that's just ludicrous.
Yeah, it's an interesting topic though, because it's like I agree with both of you, but I know what Gavin's saying. Like, I've heard stories of people renting out a way more expensive apartment that they can't really afford just because they think that that's going to force them to then raise their income levels. And I'm not sure I agree with that, but it must work in some circumstances, right? And what do you think?
No, I think that's okay, so long as you're doing it to give yourself the mindset of could your life be like. That's fine. But if the reason you're doing it is so I can go flex on Instagram, that's not a good reason.
No, I'm not meaning that. I mean in like
it's motivation
to get you into. Yeah, exactly. It's kind of to motivate you, but also to give you a different why alongside.
But then
I don't know if I would do it myself.
Then you're fucked.
Let me come back to another question that you did kind of ask, and we haven't really answered. Is like, what would you spend your money on? And I'd probably say, like, I'm kind of there, but I'm also going there as well. I did a video 3 years ago when I was in Vietnam, and I talked about signing up for Tony Robbins coaching. It costs $10,000 a year, so it's not cheap. And I was like, don't get me wrong, I'm profitable, but I'm not like making $100,000 a year, like at that point. And what was really interesting was the fact that I decided to invest that spare money in areas outside of my business directly. So it was like mindset, it was like diet, it's like exercise. By the way, Gavin and I have seen the same guy who does like physio, and that's that was $1,000. And I was like, I'm not even questioning that. I will pay this because I think that's a really good investment. So I think there are certain investments outside of your business which I will pay way above and beyond because they have very compounding impacts. But like, I don't think a first class flight might be a good investment on that on a regular occasion, on a one-off, fine. But health, diet, mindset, network, those things, spend to the moon.
Yeah, I spent like $700 recently in supplements.
Yeah, but that's a no. Like, people are like, how that? By the way, Gavin's like, I've got like 5 containers coming to your house, Tom. But like, most people are like, how do you do? Like, that's too much. Even my girlfriend said it's too much on things. But to Gavin, that's a no-brainer. Like, that's just a cost of living life that's worth an investment.
Exactly.
You've got to also assess if you feel like you're the sort of character that's going to get an ROI in it. Like, for example, last year I spent £1,500 on 10 coaching sessions with some person because I just felt like I needed coaching, and I did two hours with him, and I just didn't vibe with him at all. And I just said, look, this isn't working. So I essentially paid £750 an hour for something that I didn't get any value from. So it's like it's you've got to kind of weigh up where your motivation is at as well. Because just because you spend money on it doesn't mean you're going to get value from it. But like Gav, you knew that from the supplements you would at least feel like you're getting value. And Tom, the same with you with the Tony Robbins coaching, right?
Yeah, I've done it 3 years now, and like, but by the way, like, you didn't know you wouldn't get ROI out of that, but it was an investment in the right direction. And I think when you look at that specific equation, you would go, there are 2 parts. Number one, is coaching a no-go for you? Like, do you not enjoy the whole coaching kind of like framework, or like, was there something that I have learned from it that maybe I now need to qualify my coaches a bit better before I invest, and I do the one coaching session.
Exactly.
And again, like,
I think I
would
just
do it
need to
again.
choose wiser.
Yeah, absolutely fine.
Yeah, I think that's exactly it.
Seth, your camera looks a little bit blurry. I think you might need a new camera, mate.
No, it's a software.
Yeah, I actually do need to get a better one. This is apparently HD though, MacBook Air, but I want to get a new MacBook Air because Apple have released all their new funky stuff.
Did they?
The Vision headset. What do you think of the Vision headset? Have you looked at it, Tom?
I've looked at it briefly, but it's like $2,500 when the Facebook one is like $300.
Oh, $3,500. Yeah,
It's $3,500.
$3,500, and I actually think it's going to work because it just means that people can spend more time scrolling Instagram and TikTok while they're on the toilet. That's my theory. People are going to wear that on the toilet. People are going to wear it while they're taking a shit, and they're going to pay $3,500 for it.
That's the dream. Living the dream. That's where Seth's spending his extra money.
Do you have
I
it,
think
Seth?
that's a perfect way to end the podcast. No, it's not out yet. It's out next year.
Oh, okay. That is a good time to end the podcast. Right, guys. Thanks for tuning in to Amazon FBA Nomads. If you have any questions, drop them down below. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and if there's anything you want to see on this podcast, do let us know, for sure. Right,
and about 6 months later, we'll finally read it and actually do it.
No. 1 month this will be out now.
Bye.
Ciao, ciao.